Look at the geopolitical landscape of the modern world, and one city sits squarely at the center of overlapping global conflicts. But roll the clock back 5,000 years, and the existence of a settlement here makes almost no geographic sense. Early Jerusalem didn't control any major trade routes, and it lacked any strategic military choke points. The only reason anyone settled in this arid, barren landscape was a single geological feature. The Gihon Spring provided just enough water to survive, prompting early inhabitants, known as the Canaanites, to wrap a large stone wall around it for protection. From that isolated waterhole, the settlement grew into a prized possession that empires and kingdoms fought to control. Over the centuries, this city has been violently conquered, completely leveled, and has changed hands no fewer than 40 times. How exactly did a provincial settlement built around a tiny spring accumulated so much political and religious weight that peacefully dividing it today has become an impossible task? The first major layer of this dense history was laid down around 1000 BC. A faction of the Canaanites known as the Israelites, led by King David, took the city and made it their capital. Soon after, his successor, King Solomon, constructed a massive complex known as the First Temple. That temple, and the city itself, faced severe retaliation from neighboring empires. The Babylonians besieged Jerusalem in the 6th century BC, destroying Solomon's temple and expelling the Jewish inhabitants. Centuries later, the Romans would repeat this cycle, razing the Second Temple to the ground and officially forbidding the Jewish people from entering the settlement. With the temples gone and the population scattered, the Jewish faith shifted its focus from the physical building to the memory of the site itself. Thousands of miles away in Babylonia, prayers were directed toward these specific coordinates, transforming these remaining external stones into the singular physical tether to an ancestral home they were forbidden to enter. While under Roman rule in the 1st century CE, a new sect of Judaism emerged from the city. The followers of Jesus Christ began spreading his teachings, tying the foundation of their new Christian faith to the physical locations of his life, crucifixion, and burial. The Roman authorities initially viewed this new religion as a threat and heavily suppressed it, but by the early 4th century, Emperor Constantine the Great converted to Christianity, throwing the full weight of the empire behind the faith. Constantine sent his mother to locate the exact site of the crucifixion. When she identified a spot covered by a Roman temple built by a previous emperor, they promptly tore it down. In its place, they built the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in 335 CE, directly on top of the ruins. By the 4th century, the city had been physically remapped. A Christian cathedral now sat where a Roman temple once stood, which itself had been built over a Jewish holy site, creating a new geography where a single plot of land served as a sacred anchor for two competing religions. The situation grew even more complex in the 7th century. A new religion emerged from the Arabian Peninsula, and following the death of the Prophet Muhammad, the Rashidun Caliphate united the Muslims of Arabia, marching on Jerusalem and capturing it from the Byzantines. Islamic rule brought a rapid architectural transformation to the city. The construction of the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque firmly established Islam as an integral part of Jerusalem's identity, elevating its status to rival the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. This tri-faith coexistence held until the 11th century, when the Fatimid Caliphate began persecuting non-Muslims and Seljuk Turks expanded across the Middle East. Reports of harassment reaching Europe prompted Pope Urban II to request military assistance, interpreting the geopolitical threat as a call for a holy crusade to reclaim the city for Christendom. The response culminated in June 1099. After a weeks-long siege, the army of the First Crusade breached the walls, unleashing a brutal massacre upon the city's inhabitants that wiped out the local Muslim and Jewish populations. But the Crusaders did not raze the city. They recognized the value of the existing infrastructure and chose to repurpose the Muslim shrines on the Temple Mount for Christian use, with the Knights Templar establishing their base directly at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Centuries of holy wars and architectural conquest had effectively woven the three faiths into a single physical fabric. The Jewish, Christian, and Islamic claims to this one specific square kilometer of land were now physically inseparable. Fast forward to the early 20th century. The Ottoman Empire, which had governed the city for 400 years, collapsed during the First World War. This left a massive regional power vacuum, and the British military quickly marched in to fill it. The new British mandate immediately faced a steep diplomatic bind. They had previously promised an independent state to the local Arab population in exchange for wartime military assistance. However, they had also issued the Balfour Declaration, explicitly pledging support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Between 1920 and 1947, Jerusalem's population surged. Driven in large part by the need to flee global persecution, thousands of Jewish immigrants arrived from the diaspora, hoping to build a new state in their ancestral homeland. This rapid demographic shift severely strained local relations, sparking numerous riots. By 1947, the unrest forced the United Nations to intervene. The General Assembly voted to partition the territory into two separate states, one Jewish, one Arab. To avoid total combustion over the Holy City, Jerusalem was designated to fall under international control as a neutral zone. That diplomatic solution collapsed before it even began. Civil war broke out, and following the withdrawal of British forces in 1948, the conflict widened into the Arab-Israeli War. Jerusalem was transformed into a heavily fractured battleground. After 9 months of bitter fighting, the city was violently severed. The western half became part of the newly established State of Israel, while the eastern half, which contained the Old City, was occupied by Jordan. But a harsh political line drawn on a map could not cleanly untangle thousands of years of shared history. The synagogues, churches, and mosques were already built on top of one another, and this rigid division only entrenched deeper resentments. The tensions we see in Jerusalem today are the direct result of 5 millennia of overlapping claims. Its history remains an active physical layer of the present city. Because Jerusalem is a space that essentially belongs to everyone, it guarantees it can never easily belong to anyone.